to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
All right, we're back for another fun-filled hour of Talking Geek.
Yeah, buddy.
I'm your host with my co-host, Caleb McKelvin. I'm Robert O'Haver.
Hey, we both got the class that time.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why I did it that way.
Yeah, you made sure to work it in. I got you.
But anyway, yeah, so those of you tuning into Search Talk Live for the first time, I want to give you a little bit about the show so that we are on every Tuesday live from 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. We try to give a little taste of everything. We cover everything that has to do with digital marketing. It could be search engine optimization, social media, content marketing. I mean, you name it, we cover it if it's digital. So,
Yep.
yes. Definitely. We cover it all. And today we are talking about social media, local social media, and link building, which is a very controversial but popular topic.
I like it. I got to tell you, Rob, if you're a local business, last week's show and this week's show are perfect for you, man. The information we've given, what Jesse spit out last week, man, he dropped some awesome local search knowledge on us, and we got some more great stuff for you today to help you boost your local business and organically, social media, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, you want to listen hard today.
Yeah, now, one thing I wanted to mention to you guys, if you're listening for the first time, like I said, you can catch us on iTunes. You can catch us on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, all the major podcasting show outlets, platforms, whatever you want to call them. We're out there. Sprecher, we're really popular on Sprecher. I think we've hit 15,000 plays of replays of the show, and getting quite a good following there, which is huge. But today, I'll let you go ahead and introduce our guest.
Yeah, man. We have our, we're talking local social media, local link building, and more local search with our man today, Damon Gochneaur. Damon, how you doing today?
Great, guys.
No applause. Please throw money.
Or whiskey. We'll take whiskey, too.
Yeah, right. Damon, just to kind of introduce yourself to our listeners, just tell them a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and what you got going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I am Damon Gochneaur. I am the founder and managing partner of Aspiro Agency. We're in Flower Mound, Texas, just north of Dallas. We work with a wide variety of clients, but we really love local clients, and all from local social to local paid search and even local SEO as well. So I've got about 5 years of what I would call SEO and PPC experience, and then have about 5 years of affiliate experience before that.
Nice.
Formed Aspiro just over 2 years ago. So super excited to be on the show, guys.
Yeah.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
Man.
Well, I mean, I just kind of want to start off asking a question, what kind of drew you to local SEO? What do you like about it? What do you love about it? What are kind of the challenges that you see? What really kind of draws you to that kind of work?
That's a great question. Couple things. One, I think the ability to really affect change and to physically change a business's projections and kind of revenue streams and an owner's lifestyle is so much more tangible than with large Fortune 500 companies.
Right.
Yeah. So when I go in and win, it means he gets a new boat, his wife gets new cars, employees, and that's for me too. And then I come from my mom and dad own a local manufacturing company, and they've manufactured wholesale cosmetics for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I'm really attuned to 5 to 25 person businesses and kind of how they manifest, and local businesses then how they kind of do well in that environment.
Yeah. Oh no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, when you're doing a kind of a national campaign, a big brand, I mean, it takes months and months and months until you're kind of seeing the uptick, everything kind of taking its place and the effect and the change happening. With local business, there's a little more, not necessarily immediate impact, but you kind of see the ball rolling pretty quickly and kind of can guide it to where you want to go. So, you definitely have that positive vibe right there.
I think that's what I like about it.
Yeah.
It's just there's so many moving parts, and just dynamically adjusting to all of that and tweaking and making things better.
Yeah.
And also, I love the fact that social media in particular has in a lot of ways has leveled the playing field.
Right.
Yeah.
And Google loves big brands. And so for local social, it gets a little different and kind of how do you do that. But Facebook loves local businesses, and other people love really hyper local businesses. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and if you're from Texas and you're selling a Texas item, people in Texas buy it just because of that. So it's a differentiator in the marketplace. And that's most places. So we're seeing this rebirth of craft, and that I think we see then people wanting to have true, authentic local experiences, from restaurants to doctors to lawyers to everything they do. They want somebody down the street. They want to keep that dollar in their county, in their city, whatever it may be. So that all translates.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's get to it because we got a lot to cover here.
Yeah.
You want to start with link building or local search? I mean,
social media.
Social media search.
Let's talk link building, because I think people think of link building and they totally forget where the link comes from.
Yeah.
And in my mind, it comes from a relationship.
Right.
Right. And local businesses, I think if you're a local business, and when I say local, you could mean like hyper local, and you serve just a 2-mile radius. You're like a dry cleaner, so people aren't coming from even across town.
Yeah.
Or you could go all the way to like a city. So I'm in the middle of Dallas, but I serve the whole metroplex, to even regional type businesses, right? Mm-hmm. But it's about relationships and establishing yourself in that community, right? And you do that through reaching out and becoming a part of the community. So when it comes to link building, I always talk and go right to the good old basics and right back to the beginning. Let's find organizations with our community that we can join. So let's join the Chamber of Commerce. Let's join our local BBB branch. Let's get some of those local links that we know are quality and are going to pass some equity.
Yep.
And then from there, let's see, are there PTAs? Are there any do you offer a service that local schools would want as a part of? So if you're a restaurant, and some of mine are great at it, partner with the football teams or the drill teams or some of the band and see if you can help sponsor or cater a lunch for one of their events, or can do anything there. So you're not even giving money, but we can give product in kind, and then trade that for a link on that band page, on the PTA page. And I go right back for all local businesses kind of to 2 or 3 basic places. Their high schools and their local community organizations, and schools in general, and then churches as well. I think local businesses totally forget about churches, and then colleges and universities. And most businesses have all 3 of those within 5 or 10 miles of them.
Yeah.
And all 3 of those are absolutely prime for quality links that are not spammy, have a lot of trust signals, also typically have some pretty high authority, especially when you get to the college EDU links, but also have extremely, extremely high relevancy for local.
Sure.
So they're down the street, and Google knows that. It sees those links. Mm-hmm. So, you can, if you go listen to Greg Gifford, or if you go listen to Mike Blumenthal, or if you go listen to some of the guys way smarter than me, it's still about creating a diverse profile, and that comes from talking and creating a lot of relationships.
Right.
And not being so hung up on what that anchor text is, but understanding that I'm driving equity to my brand, and that I handle that relevancy on site. Mm-hmm. I don't do it off site anymore. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle, is like, how do I get a link for, Dallas pizza? Bro, you don't.
Right.
Yeah. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And once you realize that it's not so much about some of the signals, but it's more about taking the relationships and the things that we're doing offline and getting the online equity. While we're waiting for this call, I have a client of mine that does a pediatric therapy treatments. So for autism and ADD and things like that. So it's super hyper local. Yeah. And people aren't driving an hour for it. Some will, actually, we found out, because they're not served an hour outside of the Metroplex by any facility. Mm-hmm. So, but he's asking me, hey, I'm doing this sponsorship thing. Is this a good link? And I almost broke down and cried. When clients come to me, hey, I'm going to build this. I think I want to do this. Is this the right thing to do? He's starting to get how we can use the ecosystem to help our SEO, but not just drive links for that. Right.
Right.
And that's priceless too.
And that's what I tell people, is that if we're building links just for an equity value referral, then we're probably missing the boat somewhere, and we're wasting our efforts.
Well
because
said.
We need to be finding places that we can draw referral traffic from, as well as some link equity.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes those no follows actually can help us in a lot of ways. So, and that's a whole nother long-term strategy that I don't want to dive in the weeds, but the reality is it's about relationships, man.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head. There's so many relationships out there in your local community, all the way up from the government level to the college level, to your local community resources. I mean, even if you're able to look at community centers that offer classes. I mean, if you can promote a class there, or you can sponsor one or be a part of one, if you can be a local resource for somebody, even a news channel, they're always looking for people to speak on a story or sponsor something or be involved in some type of content. There's so many opportunities there. And I think you're exactly right, Damon. Like, it's that relationship level, and that's the opportunity that local businesses have. If you build those relationships, not only links are going to come from it, brand awareness is going to come from it. You're going to reach a larger audience, and you're going to have that involvement that is just going to take your business to the next level. And
it doesn't really matter what business you're in.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And that's kind of why I love some of the strategies we employ.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think a lot of local brands still forget about the scholarship, right, as an incentive. And I think it's I know it's a kind of an old tactic, but it still works so well. And if it's executed well, especially locally, you can drive really, really specific campaigns that just affect your local universities and create things for them. But then behind that, the alumni discounts, I mean, there's countless opportunities just from the education side.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Charities.
Yeah. And there's people throw events on all the time. That's what I like to tell some local businesses. People throw events on all the time that need help. Yeah. They need help promoting it. They need sponsors for it. They need content for it. They need help. Yes. And just sending them a little bit of help, both sides are going to reap a lot of the benefits.
And that's where I think most businesses get so caught up in, I don't have either the time to volunteer or I don't have the money.
Yeah.
And the reality is like, when I do a lot of conference sponsorships and work asking for things all the time, and to your point, they need help. They don't necessarily need your time or your money.
Yeah.
They might want your pizza.
Right.
They might want a dry cleaning gift certificate.
Right.
They might want a tankless hot water heater if you're a plumber. Like, you have things that you can eat, costs that you can give, either your own physical labor or products that you get from your vendors, right, from your distributors. Mm-hmm. Use that as incentives. I mean, I got a dentist that he essentially just bangs all his little dental reps to get free stuff from him, and then he turns around and gives it away on social. All of it. Just gives it away to all his people. The really nice high-end toothbrushes, like $200 electric toothbrushes.
Wow, right. Nice.
You know what I mean? The at-home laser light kits that are like $400. Just banged all these people. And so, like, once a month or once every 2 months, he uses that. And then we promote that outside of his sphere, and we use that content to go as a lure. So, that's all part of that relationship. You got to get into conversation.
Yep.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That is a good point. You really got to think out of the box when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doing that type of stuff is right on.
Absolutely.
I mean, and not to mention also, I'm sorry to me.
No, go ahead.
The what I wanted to add to that is, let's say you got a link from your local chamber, and someone finds your site from that local chamber. That's also instant credibility for your site. When you're trying.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great signal.
So, I mean, it's not just the link juice and all that stuff. I mean, it's the value of the link itself as far as bringing traffic and that type of stuff.
Well, and that kind of speaks to, I know later we're going to talk about voice search, but that's part of being involved in the conversation. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where business owners get a little myopic in thinking that everybody is finding you through Google. No, they're using Google as a reference point, right? The search engine is part of the zero moment of truth, but it is not necessarily the zero moment, right? So they're using it as an influence, but then they're validating that on social, and they're validating that in other places, and they're looking at other things. So, your referral credibility point, they're going on Angie's List. They're going to the BBB. Yeah. They're going to the Chamber of Commerce if they're a business. They're using these places. Mm-hmm. So you got to be involved in that conversation and on that platform, even if it doesn't pass the link equity.
Right, right. And I think a lot of people you're right. A lot of people get caught up in that. A lot of local business owners, whether it's the is it follow, no follow, like we have to have follow, everything like that. No, that's not necessarily true. That no follow or even that brand mention, it still carries a heavy weight for you. Because it's a local community, like it's local involvement. People are going to recognize you, and you're going to build that brand awareness, and you're going to have that, whether it's helping you drive referral traffic or whatever it is. Like you don't always have to focus on that follow link. You have to focus on what that link or what that placement for you is going to bring to your business.
Yeah, another thing that people don't realize is Google, even though it's a no-follow, Google still looks at the citations and mentions of brands, all that good stuff. So, I mean, that's a huge importance that people don't look at as well.
Well, and the credibility as well, right?
Yeah,
So it's no
absolutely.
follow, and we're getting, but man, this stamps me, and then I have reviews there that pass through.
Right.
Right.
I have star ratings, and all those things add up.
Yeah.
Customers, imagine that.
Right.
And that's we forget. I think business owners, especially small business owners, they see revenue and they see the things that actually affect them, right? And but they forget sometimes that these are people and they have very convoluted ways of making decisions.
Yeah.
So we need to, instead of focusing so hard on just local SEO, I mean, 5 years ago, I sold local SEO like nobody's, like just a barn door, because it was so much different and there wasn't as much noise in the space.
Right.
Yeah.
Local or social, for a local perspective, wasn't nearly as big, and there wasn't as much noise in the overall space. So the market changes, and business owners need to understand that and be at the place that their constituents or their customers, their users are actually talking.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you're obviously listening to Search Talk Live. We are talking local SEO, local social media, local link building for all of your small and local businesses out there. If you'd want to get your questions in, we're with our special guest today is Damon Gochneaur from Aspiro Agency. You can get your questions in on Twitter. Use hashtag #SearchTalkLive. We've already had a couple of questions in. We'll get to those here pretty shortly in the show. You can go on Twitter, or you can email us, Robert at @SearchTalkLive or Caleb at @SearchTalkLive. We'll get your questions in for Damon, Robert, or myself on air. We are sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out everything they have to offer. Some cool stuff. But all right, let's get back to the show.
Yeah.
Love it.
Go
to drop all that stuff in there,
Now, are you, Damon? I'm going to ask you this for the listeners. Now, do you specifically go after local links, or do you try?
No, I mean, we're not necessarily tied to just local links. It just depends on the business, right?
Yeah.
And so the first thing we do is look for I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I'm the first to admit that. So in my mind, okay, cool. Where's the volume? What do we want to rank for?
Right.
And then who's ranking for that now? And then what are they doing? How many links do they have? Where are they at? How strong are they? What's the diversity? And then within that starts to define the parameters of where we need to go and what we need to do. So for most businesses I work with, they haven't really focused locally. And historically, if they've done any SEO over the past, anything older than 2 or 3 years, then it's probably a lot of international links or a lot of links all over the U.S. that don't have a lot of local relevancy because they were probably bought or manipulated somehow.
Right.
So from that perspective, my thing is always, let's just build a really, really solid base and do the things that we know. Even if we build this link, and to your point, it doesn't get us the most equity, we know in 5 years we still want this link because we still want the Flower Mound Chamber of Commerce to know where my business is.
Yeah.
I'm in Flower Mound, right? So, and that's kind of the thought process we take. Is it a relationship? Would we want to buy this person a drink other than getting a link from them? Right. Would that help our business? Because is there a networking possibility? Is there something? Okay, cool. If so, then yes, let's pursue that link.
Yeah.
But I'm not just picking out oh man, that's a DA84. You got to get that link, bro.
Right. Yeah.
To me, I mean, I want that link. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But if there's relevancy, and if I don't have a good way of trying to, form a relationship, and for local, that's why I like local so much better, is that I don't have to necessarily create these amazing pieces of content or come up with all these really crazy out of the box solutions to form relationships with these people that have authority at these other sites I want.
Yeah.
I can go and say, hey man, I'm down the street. I'd love for your clients to know that I'll give them 10% off. Mind posting that on their site? Okay, cool. And hey, what do you know? We've created some SEO value, we've created some brand awareness value, and we're potentially going to drive some business revenue from that actual referral traffic.
Right.
That's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we actually do have a listener question that emailed in. We got Jason. He asks, how can I use my blog on my local business site to generate those local links?
No, that's a really good, so this is a good point. Your blog should be, in my mind, and the way we try to structure it is your site itself typically the site has anywhere from 10 to 40 pages for local businesses, depending on the number of locations.
Yeah.
And those pages should all map to specific keyword targets. And you really have most businesses have anywhere from 15 to 30 high value, decent traffic targets that they really want to monitor and affect. And so within that, we should be using our blog content to talk about the service areas, the specific cities that we service and how we service them and why we're one of the best to service that location and that little locale, but then also tying it back and interlinking to specific pages on your site.
Yeah.
That we're going through and creating content that is bolstering and supporting through internal linking and freshness the existing pages that we really want to rank. If you're using your blog to try to rank for a high value target, especially local, then I think we probably have a mismatch of our site's like goals and fundamental directives. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it does. Absolutely. I think it's also a good opportunity for the relationship part of it that we were speaking on to earlier. Yep. Is that, say if you're a real estate agent and you, are writing some content on home inspections and stuff like that, you want to get some local home inspectors involved and contributing to that content, there's a way to use that relationship right there. And not only are it's going to be on yours, but they're going to want to share it with their audience and stuff like that. So you're helping build that brand awareness right there.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
So good stuff. Thanks for the question.
And I think, too, that we don't talk about, those are a lot of places where we can answer queries and you can speak naturally.
Oh, yes.
Where, like, if we're starting to drop a little bit of what might be coming just a little bit later, as voice search becomes bigger and bigger, then the short-term keyword search that we're all so accustomed to is going to grow longer and longer, and it's going to get more and more varied. And I think that blog content is your space to actually tie your site to those searches.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that.
Absolutely. Speaking of that conversational tone, that's real with people. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's going to be less like generic content. It's going to be more personalized, I believe.
Yeah.
It's not going to be AC repair Flower Mound. And I keep saying, right. Or it's not going to be AC repair Dallas.
Yeah.
It's going to be my train heater isn't turning on or isn't staying on. What do I do?
Yeah.
Right. And we're going to, or AC repairman close to me. A lot of near to me searches. We're already seeing that. Yep. And we're seeing a huge growth. So you're totally right. Yep. But great question, Jason. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's also where you're going to, I believe, when you have searches for people that say, restaurant near me or something like that, you're going to get more of the pigeon algorithm that's going to be kicking in, I imagine, with the geolocation. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
Boy, I'm getting geeky here.
That's what it's all about. Very cool. All right. Just like Jason did, if you want to get your questions in, you can use #SearchTalkLive, or you can send us through email, caleb@searchtalklive.com or robert@searchtalklive.com. Good stuff.
Yeah. So what else did you want to add to that? Or do you want to move on to the...
I kind of want to go local social.
Okay.
You ready to go local social, Damon?
Local social. I love it. Let's go local social. Any specific link building questions, shoot them in. I'm happy to answer anything. But yeah, let's talk local social.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you got link building questions, we can go back and forth. We're covering it all today. We're all over the place. I like it. Now, local social, I'm actually really interested in this. I love social media. Am I fantastic at it? No, I'm not that great at it. But kind of one of the things I want to touch on today is it seems like there's a lot of, I want to say, dead social media pages for local businesses. Like they're just they it seems like they try and then they get frustrated with it. They're not getting any interaction, and they just kind of leave it there. Is that something you kind of often see? Is that they're not really utilizing their social media the way they really need to?
Yeah, you're totally right. And I think because we have such high expectations for ourselves, right? Like I think local businesses look at it and they're like, oh man, I need to be posting 5 times a day.
Right.
And in their mind, they have one business that's around them that really does it well, but that naturally comes to that business owner. So if you went and talked to that business owner, he probably sucks at accounting, or he's probably terrible with his vendor relationships, or something else in his business isn't good because he's really good at social media. Hey, what do you know? That's so if you're not, find somebody internally, right? So, if you have younger staff, they would love to be your voice and they would love to help you identify what that is. And you need that. So, but you're totally right. I think businesses get like a little bit of stage fright. Like, okay, I'm here now. What do I say? I don't know what to say. Yeah. What do I do with my hands? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like, and they forget that it's the place to be authentic.
Right.
Like I feel like so many local businesses forget that people want to buy. People do business with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
and they want to do business with other people more and more. So be yourself, because I appreciate the owner, even if I don't agree with him, whatever it is, that takes a stance and does whatever and backs and supports his cause or whatever it is. God bless you. That's America. And so I'm not saying like you go out and, you have the most political post ever, but that you're not afraid to just be your own voice.
Right.
So if you're fun, have fun. If you're a little crazy, be a little crazy, whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to attract the audience you want in most cases. I'm not going to say in all cases, but you being yourself in certain instances, in certain niches, that's the kind of people that you want to drive to your business, anyway. So you being yourself, you being authentic, and you speaking your own voice, I think you're going to reach the people that you want to, right?
Well, and number one, and then number two, it's just a whole heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's hard to put on somebody else's hat every day and be the company.
Yeah.
But it's like Aspiro Agency is, I'm a co-founder and I'm a managing partner, but for the most part, like I consider it my baby. So everything I have is just me, man. And if that doesn't work, then no worries. There's a lot of other great agencies out there that do amazing work.
Yeah.
And as a business owner, you also need to realize that your competition is always going to potentially be there. You will always have competition. It's going to change. They might take market share. You might gain it. So you need to get comfortable with the fact that people are going to choose something else, and you need to get real cool with the fact to welcome them to try that experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Because if you don't stand behind your product and your service or whatever that is first, then every other conversation can just go ahead and cease and desist until you get there.
Yeah. And you have to be where your customer is. So like, I see this with a lot of businesses too. They make the mistake, and we've talked about this before on the show, is they try to be on every platform, social media wise, and they're on Pinterest, but their customers are actually
on Instagram.
72. So,
No, you're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And I think that goes back to like understanding who your audience is. Right. And that's where so 5 years ago when I worked for a much, much bigger agency, we had like 40 people and we worked with bigger brands. We sold a brand identification kit. Mm-hmm. And essentially all we did was do personas, user personas, and identify some things about who your core audiences were, where they're at, what they're doing. We sold that for like $10,000 to $12,000 typically, right? Yeah. Which I'm finding out now really isn't that much money. So we were giving a deal away. You can get all that darn data right out of Facebook.
Right.
That's what blows me away now is like I give that away to clients. I'm like, the first thing I ask local businesses is like, hey, shoot me all your emails for all your past customers. And they're like, why? And I'm like, I want to see who your people are. And they're like, okay. So they shoot it over. And the next thing you know, I'm handing them, 63% of your customers are females between the ages of 24 and 36. And they're like, shut up. And I'm like, I'm serious. That's what the data tells us. Yeah. Now, why are we sending out these graphics that have like monster trucking themes and like,
right.
Exactly.
Like, why isn't our messaging? And I did this with a business we just took on for Facebook advertising. And we found out that hey, what do you know? They're an app company and nobody was actually like downloading the app on desktop. It boggled my mind, but it's because you can't download the damn app on desktop, right? You got to be on your mobile phone. Well, why are we running desktop ads? If the goal is you know what I mean? Like, so, but businesses don't always like connect all those dots.
Right.
And Facebook gives you that data. You can take it all, and they just expanded that. I can now load up first name, last name, and match people. Mm-hmm. What? And use email address or phone number or street address or like it's insane the different data points. So you can start matching these people up and find out who your audience is. Yep. And what do they actually like and interest and where are they shopping and what's their average lines of credit? What's their average home size? What's their average, how many cars, kids, everything.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, and the other thing too is with Facebook for a small business, it's perfect because cost wise, you're not going to pay like you would with AdWords or something like that.
You're absolutely right. It's much lower, and historically it's been super low. We're seeing it, but I will say that we've seen recently, specifically, it seems to be like I don't know if Facebook's trying to drive like third and fourth corner earnings up, but we've had some instances where like. We did a campaign, we come back, we want to do a similar campaign, and all of a sudden our budgeted CPC is, 40% higher. And we're like, well, wait, last week it was, okay, all right, well, that's good. Like, it's kind of, Facebook's one of those deals like they tell you, and then if you put it in, you just won't get any traffic. You know what I mean? Okay, cool. And we keep finding, and sure enough, they were right, but like we laugh internally, like they just have the little switch and they're like, okay, Bob, is it 30%? Yeah, 30%. Across the board, Bob? Yeah, across the board. Okay, light a cigar. Let's celebrate.
Going once, going twice.
Yeah, and earnings just went up 30% across the board because everybody's paying 30% more CPC.
Right.
Yeah.
But
go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you.
No, I was just going to say it's just funny.
Yeah.
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 So, I mean, like you can, it's hard to say. Like we've seen stuff down to 3 cents a click, promoting posts and stuff. I mean, it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
It really depends. As long as you're staying laser focused on your audience,
That's where I go all day. As long as targeting's right, then, it's all, yes, to your point, you will always typically be cheaper than AdWords. Yeah. And you will always be cheaper than LinkedIn. And you'll typically be a little cheaper than some other channels too, Twitter. And so it's amazing. And for local, my thing is like you can just control the message. And I can go, if I do this with service companies and, high-end discretionary spending companies like plastic surgeons, but we go pick those neighborhoods we want, and then we start layering in all these other demographic interest like stuff. So they make over X amount of dollars and they have X number of cars, or they drive a BMW, Mercedes, and you can start to get to the audiences that you really want.
Yeah. What they like to watch on TV.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yep. Then you can use that targeting to help educate and drive your messaging and ad copy, right?
Yep.
So if we know they're that consumer, then let's show them a house in Southlake or really nice areas in our area. So if you know what I mean? If you want the rich guy down the street that lives in that really expensive community, then show him houses and then target those people in there and exclude everybody else around it. And hey, what do you know? You'll drive and grow your business in that area.
And then retarget the hell out of them.
Right.
And see, that's where I think local businesses totally fail to do is do retargeting based on location.
Yeah.
Right. And then so if somebody and they don't think about that as well, but like if somebody comes to your page, looks at your local service page and doesn't call you, then there is some sort of credibility issue, right? Like, cause you're not talking pricing, you're not talking anything else. They didn't. So all those people, my favorite thing there is retargeting with a testimonial from someone that lives in their area. Mm-hmm. We take location city pages, we match them to 2 or 3 people, audience, or 2 or 3, testimonials from people in that area, and then we use a stock image if we have to, but we get a face and a testimonial. And man, John's Heating and Air Conditioning really saved the day in the middle of August, and we show them that ad, and okay, cool, because that's ultimately probably going to be something that drives home that message.
Yeah.
Or you go to those third-party sites, you get your BBB, you get your Chamber of Commerce, you get your Angie's List, you get your other outstanding ratings that you can pull in that, speak to your credibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one thing we didn't cover on link building is the local citations, the directories and stuff. Yeah. That's kind of without saying.
And Jesse talked about that a little.
Yeah, he talked about it a lot. About
You're talking about local. You got to be talking about NAP, so your name, address, and phone number, and consistency, and then citations play right into NAP. So we kind of approach it twofold. We look at, I know that citations in and of themselves don't drive rankings, but they do help with map pack listings and they do help with local relevance.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things. I look, all right, do we have enough citations, or is our citation profile clean enough for us to be able to get you in the map pack and to rank you locally? Yes, no, boom. If not, then we go build citations. I love Bright Local?
Mm-hmm.
Bright. Yes, I was thinking of White Spark too. We're demoing White Spark right now, and then we use Moz Local a lot. I love every local business we sign up for. We use Moz Local for a lot of that citation because I think it's a great product for the costs involved. So that's kind of our standard op. But yes, to your point.
Yeah,
we're kind of. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying. Speaking of Jesse, he actually did send in a question for you. He asked, "How do you approach multi-location businesses that are in the same general area?"
Oh, that's a good question. That's when you go. Yeah, I would really start to get into the neighborhoods there.
Yeah.
So when you get to I know in our area, even in you could even take my little local community I live in. It's called Lantana, Texas, and there's about 9,000 people in it. And you can take that and separate it by neighborhood, and each neighborhood is named its own. I live in Isabel, and across the street is Guardia, and across the street is Madison, and so you could even. So I would do the same thing if it's on the corner in Soho, or if it's in whatever district of town. Mm-hmm. So if you have Dallas or you have Austin, it's in West Austin, it's in East Austin, it's in South Austin, and that's where you can really affect too the voice search, because that's when near me I think is really going to start to get triggered more and more.
Yeah.
And And to some degree, you should have a advantage having that many locations within a dense area, so to speak. So if you do it right and you start to label each one of those sub areas, if you will, or neighborhoods, you could specifically own an entire market.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff. All right. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, appreciate the question, Jesse.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely a good one. All right. So for social, kind of the one thing we see really making a forefront is video live streaming and things like Snapchat. So do you see these playing a big role in local businesses, and how would that be as far as like brand awareness or reaching new customers, or how can they utilize these resources, or should they even implement those in their local marketing strategy?
No, I think they're great if you have events. So if you have, a lot of restaurants specifically do radio, remotes at their location, and they'll have different people come on site. And if you have one of those, then all day you need to be doing it. The other thing too, I think it's great for is showing your process. So if you're brave enough to show the kitchen, if you're brave enough to show the shop where the guys are doing transmission changes or whatever, then take it back there. Because I'd love to see. There's a couple barbecue joints in our area that do live streaming when they pull meats off the brisket, or when they pull meat off the pit, and then when they're carving it and some of their prep work.
That's creative.
And I really dig it, right? And otherwise, I wouldn't watch or go to their Facebook. But when I see it ping across my Twitter that they're live on Periscope doing this thing, I'm like, oh, yeah, I want to see it. I know, I'm really weird. But I think the other flip side of that is it's a great place to capture events and then to capture live video where people aren't expecting super polished. And then to your point earlier, Robert, it's really cheap to promote video plays.
Yep.
I mean, like I've done video plays for a penny a play.
Wow.
And targeted people with nothing but $120K in income. Like what? Yeah, I went and got rich people to watch my ad for a penny a play.
Nice.
Like that, and we laughed, we danced all the way.
That's awesome.
And the ad's done so well, we didn't turn it off. We use it for a franchise company that has 97 locations nationwide. We use it for them as like a radio spot or a television spot almost.
Nice.
So we have a couple different segments. We have a couple different versions. And then now, because it's done so well, we're going to go back and create 45-second segments out of that to specifically target products that they want to try to move in specific areas.
Nice.
Florida's big in lanais, right? You guys are all about screened-in patios, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Everything's lanai'd out. And in Texas, we don't really do lanais, but we do motorized screens a lot because most of the time we can have it open, but there's a few months out of the year where it's either dusty or leaves or bugs. And so then we want or it's too hot and you want the motorized shade, but then the other 18 hours of the day, you don't want to obstruct the view. So it's and then like you go up into the Midwest and they really like different types so everybody's got their little, individuality. And so we customize the messaging for that and then customize the targeting, and we can now scale this across an entire country.
Yeah. And I mean, gosh, at a penny a click.
It's cost efficient.
Yeah. Penny a view. And we were averaging most of the time we were averaging like 48 seconds or 52 seconds of view time. So we were getting like really,
wow.
Yeah. So people were interested. And then about a minute in, they were like, yeah, that's cool. And then they left. Okay, cool. That's all we wanted. Like, and to your point, a lot of local businesses forget about the brand awareness.
Yeah.
And I'm an inbound direct response, like, put $1 in, get $1.50 back guy. And built my marketing business and chops on that. But there's such a valuable kind of weight to that brand awareness piece.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you really can't, that's for a local business, that's doable. You're talking a national campaign for, a penny a view.
We spend like $500 a month on it. We spend like $500 a month and get like 5,000 views. And that's not just impressions, because we get a lot of impressions from people just scrolling through it that don't hit the 10-second mark and don't get the view. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. So you brand heavy in the front of the video.
Absolutely.
And call to action or whatever.
And in our title sequence, we have the logo real clean so that the as soon as it comes on, that first shot that's there before it auto plays has a lot of that stuff. And then you're totally right. Within the first 5 seconds, we're getting the brand's voice. We're getting the brand's logo on the screen, and then trying to get right into the products and set the tone. We faces right away. So another company handles the video production, so I don't pretend like I do that. But from the targeting and the distribution standpoint, we've been super happy.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to bring up too, and this is super important too, when you're doing social, it is a commitment. It's either you do it or you don't. Because there's no reason in having an account that's just sitting there dormant and nothing's happening because it doesn't nothing for your business.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, but it doesn't have to mean that do it is like 1,000 posts a day,
right?
Everything's super polished. Like, we love Canva for producing really good graphics and really good images without having a designer to do it.
Right.
Any business owner could create really good looking Facebook posts about their business, about events, about whatever with Canva, and it's like $5 a month.
Right.
Most social media accounts for businesses could be managed from an iPhone in all reality, from start to finish. So you could Snapchat filter and apply filters, save it, and then take it over and post it on Facebook. So, it's to the point now, too, where I really challenge business owners, like, what don't you have? Why don't you? Because like we said earlier, they're going to have a conversation about you.
Sure.
If you're not on Twitter, I'm just hashtagging you instead of using your @ right? And if you're on Facebook, I'm going to do the same thing. But I'm going to tell people how crappy you are.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do.
That kind of leads into what I was going to say is that's the other thing. You have to, if you are where your customers are, you need to be listening, whether it's positive or negative, and you have to be there to answer regardless.
Each one's an opportunity, whether it's positive or negative. You have an opportunity there to impact your business.
Yeah.
And the negative ones are actually even bigger opportunities.
Yes, absolutely.
They're so massive. As small business owners, you got to realize that you're not going to make everybody happy. There's always going to be one jerk out there, and it's okay. And you are way more is shown by how you handle them, right? And when you wrestle a pig, everybody gets muddy, right? So it's kind of that deal. It's like you just take the high road. You just stay committed to making sure that you do the best you can by that customer and let the rest of it go. And you know what? Other people will appreciate that.
Yep, absolutely. And get on those negative ones and, respond to them because, let me give you an example. Let's say I sent out a tweet right now from Search Talk Live. I get over 100,000 impressions. That means 100,000 people, they may not see it, but somewhere in there, they're seeing it, And if you respond to a negative comment, they're going to say, hey, that business owner cares about their customers, and they're going to make sure you're taken care of.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what you want.
Yep. Yeah. Great stuff. Well, we're in the last leg of the show. If you want to get your questions in, we've had some great questions so far. You can go on Twitter, use hashtag SearchTalkLive, get your questions in for Damon Gochneaur, our special guest today from Aspiro Agency. We're talking local SEO, local social media, local link building to help your business thrive in your local community. So get your questions in today. Once again, we're sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out everything they have to offer. And you can also email us, caleb@searchtalklive.com, robert@searchtalklive.com. Get your questions in now.
Yeah, and back to Facebook. It is pretty much across the board, whatever business you're in, because everybody's on Facebook. So if you're looking for a way to advertise on a cheap,
everybody's
on Facebook.
Everybody's
on Facebook.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
Yeah,
So and so many have them tied to multiple points of data. So it used to be like, people weren't on there for business. Even 3 or 4 years ago, I was one of the guys out there going, "Nah, man, you don't go B2B on Facebook. You're just wasting your money. Keep that on LinkedIn or maybe Twitter. It's more kind of business." But that's BS.
I agree. Yeah, because
BS.
Yeah.
Who owns a business? A person.
Yeah, and what's funny though is, and a lot of it to me is about the hats we wear, right? Yeah. And when you hit my inbox at aspiroagency.com, if I don't know you, I'm hoping you're either wanting me to do business or you got something really good for me. But otherwise, I don't really want to talk to you, right? Because that's my inbox.
Yeah.
But if you get in my Facebook feed, you're probably going to get 2 or 3 branding opportunities before I might hit a thing and be like, nah, I don't want to see this anymore. I'm seeing it too often.
Yeah.
Right. So there's 2 or 3 spots where I'm so much more receptive to a new idea, to a new proposition, to some new tool or something that I haven't noticed before.
Right.
So I agree.
Yeah. So we're sponsored by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to Robert Palmer family of companies. No, it's robertpalmercompanies.com. I screwed that up again. I was reading the wrong line there. But and you're listening to Search Talk Live. You can listen to us every Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we're talking today with Damon.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to, we talked on the forefront of this conversation about social media, about the demographics and finding those demographics. If somebody has that information and are just looking at it, they got it all in front of them, how should they interpret that and how should they apply that as far as their social media campaigns go?
No, it's we know that a 45-year-old views the world in a different lens than a 35 and a 25.
Right.
And we also know that they're totally receptive to different design ideas. So the things that my dad consumes and wants, the way he purchases and the way he likes things to look are different than me and different than my son. Mm-hmm. And so we need to be cognizant of those different purchase paths, if you will, and then reward them for that and play to those. So, and we got an app company that we just did this with. So we dumped all their, 15,000 subscribers, purchasers, everything in and got all the data back and said, cool, like 65% of your users are females between this specific age range. Like a massive, like overall 72% of their clients were female. So we know like all of our messaging needs to, number one, really go target more females, and then number two, take a much softer, much more feminine tone. And we need to get me out of the room and get some really sharp young ladies in here to start writing this ad copy, right? And have that conversation between them, because I'm not that person. So let's and small businesses can do the same thing. Cool. Like if you know that your consumer, if you're close to a college, then you need to be hiring young people to help in your office or help in your business so that they can then market to those if that's a segment for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, it's crazy to see how the age gaps use social media in a different way. Like it's insane to me to see how I use it compared to, say, my nieces and nephews use it, to compare it to how my brother that's 9 years older than me uses it. I mean, each one's using it a completely different way.
You're totally right. And even like my brother's 2 years younger than me, and I think there's like a divide. He's almost more of a millennial than I am, I guess, for a lot of different reasons. And he uses it. He's Instagram, Snapchat, way more, and I'm much more Twitter and a little bit of Facebook just for the messenger. So it's kind of a totally different way.
Yeah, absolutely. Damon, do you see kind of any changes in social media happening or anything that's really going to impact a business here in the next 3 to 5 years? Or is the younger generation really going to change how we interact with social media from a business standpoint?
They're going to force adoption. That's going to just be a necessity. So they're going to continue to discover new technologies and platforms that serve really interesting, unique ways of communicating, because that's what they're seeking to do. Yeah. And everything we see, all the new stuff is just communication tools. So it's going to be about conversations and getting yourself in the right conversation. But I think the bigger is, I don't think that we're going to see like social media change as much as we're going to continue to see it be like a necessity that you have to like, if you don't have a Facebook right now, you're weird. And if you
right.
like, and I talked to older friends, like a buddy of mine was like 36 in my age, and he got back into the dating scene, and he had been off Facebook. Like it was kind of like and he was like, I have people ask me like, how come I can't find you on Facebook? And like young ladies were like, really not cool. Like, what is wrong with you that you don't want to have a Facebook account? Because it's almost like a LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, a little sketchy there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, so you don't have a driver's license either.
Right.
Okay. So I think it's going to be more and more like you have to have these things. Yeah. And, Google tried to force us to do that with Google Plus and some of their moves.
Right.
What's really interesting, though, is Facebook's Pixel. And I don't think anybody really talks about that much. But Facebook transferred to the new Pixel that's now on every page of your site. So I think the real big thing is like the quiet war has been Google's data over search behavior versus Facebook's social data. And if Google's not careful with voice search and our proclivity to do a lot of other things, Facebook could get that data plus the social data thanks to the pixel on the site.
Yeah.
Like they now know, what traffic's doing to your site, where it's coming from. They're now getting a lot of that same user behavior data that before Google and Adobe maybe were the only people really collecting en masse. Yeah. So I think there's like this real quiet play that I was really kind of expecting a lot of like, oh man, this is huge. Like, Facebook's tracking every page on your site. They want to know about your e-commerce. Facebook wants to help businesses grow, in my mind, more so than Google. So from a local business perspective, they give me ways to tie my conversions in and then to optimize by conversions. Mm-hmm. And apps in and optimize for my apps by engagement points. Like, they are much more in bed with local businesses, so to speak, and want to see that ecosystem continue to evolve because it only serves their platform better.
Right.
So for whatever that's worth, that's my answer.
And it always helps to have the lower cost too.
Yeah, that's it too. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. That's awesome. Great answer. All right. Now we're entering to the last about 8 to 10 minutes of the show. I know, Robert, you kind of wanted to talk on voice search and the impact on local.
Yeah.
And what that's all about.
Super exciting to me. I mean, I think, and I've been slow to come around to voice search, for my own personal reasons, right? So like, I just didn't feel like it was good. And I've read a lot of studies about that, how about the accuracy rates and kind of the quality is just getting better and better. And, or maybe still a year or two away from it reaches a bare minimum where everybody's like, oh yeah, Siri's good or Cortana's good. And right now it's like, you know, I have Amazon, I have Echo at the house. And so Alexa is confused most of the time still.
Yeah.
But as she processes more queries from the world, they'll get better at mapping, right? And semantically figuring that out. But it's just a huge growth area. And I think local businesses I think we're all so like, oh man, what are we going to do for voice search? I think it's like, well, if you're doing really good for the other aspects of search, they're going to pull from that too. So it's not like this whole new like set of rules and tactics and strategies. It's like we just really need to focus on a couple key areas that before we knew were kind of important.
Yeah.
And there's not a new, I mean, there's no doubt, with Google coming out with their own version of the home appliance or whatever it is. That's totally voice search, and Echo is a good example.
Well, and I think that's where, Amazon has a really good, because they're trying to map the things in life that we want to do, right? And what do we want? Like, I want to just be able to order more fish filters for my son's fish tank without having to like go in and add it to cart and search my previous orders and all that stuff.
Right.
So I think there's an ease of, and they're figuring out that the voice search is really assistant. So it's those 4 basic categories, and they're almost split when you look at them over why people are using voice. They're looking for information, they're answering a query, they're trying to find a location, or they're trying to make a purchase. So it's very similar to what we've considered in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things are really taken away from Google, if you think about it. I mean, you're no longer going out to Google to shop for this. Amazon's brilliant. I mean, they're keeping you in the
direct lifeline.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And I think, but I think that's where the place where Amazon ultimately fails is so it's 2 things. So that's a really interesting point. Number 1, Amazon doesn't get you local. So Amazon can't deliver me a pizza yet. Well, they can, but I got to go through Domino's. So I got to use a Domino's. What do they call it? It's not an app. They call it something else. I totally forgot now. It's like an app within Amazon where anybody can develop them, and it's pretty much just like an app, but it's a little script that allows you to do what are they called? I'll find it later after the show and stick it in the show notes. But that development, there used to be 100, let's call them apps in the Amazon store. Now there's 1,000, right? And they're saying by the end of next year there'll be 5,000. And like Domino's has one where I can just say, order a Domino's large pizza, deliver it to my house, and it'll go in through the app, grab my information from my Amazon cart, and place the order and deliver me a pizza.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then they're like, well, man, what if I'm a local business and I'm not a huge brand? I think we're going to see a whole sub-market, and I was thinking about this in the shower this morning, a sub-market of companies that develop those apps just as like standalone units. Like, oh, cool, yeah, I work with nothing but pizza stores making pizza apps, allowing them to tie their online ordering system into the Amazon Echo. Oh, yeah, right? And I think that's what we'll see kind of the rise of, is you won't have to deploy your own unique, proprietary solution. There'll be this store where you can go as a business, register and sign up and log in and pay your $30 a month, and you'll get in the Amazon store for that.
Yeah, and that's one thing Google said that at SMX West, they were saying that you eventually in the next 5, maybe 8 years, I believe, you're going to be able to go just by voice and say, I want the 70-inch Samsung big screen, give me the best price, and and basically skipping the whole funnel of going to different sites and all this stuff and shopping, and and it'll go right to checkout.
Yep. And they're called, my bad, they're called skills, not apps. So there's skills within the Alexa app. But yeah, you're totally right. And so then it's like, well, crap. How do I get in the zero moment of truth? You better have some kick-ass brand awareness.
Right.
So they're like, what's the best deal on a, Echo weed eater still or whatever, you know what I mean? So they actually tie your brand in the search and they weed out the competition for you. Or B, you better have your data so structured that Google can find that, or that the voice search, whatever engine it is, can find it. And I think that's the big part of voice search that nobody really kind of talks about is semantic relevance. So getting content on your site to answer questions that we know people are going to talk, that natural language, which is your blog, great place for that. And then 2, schema markup, and then now JSON markup too through there. But getting that data structured so that Google totally understands exactly what you do, how you do it, and can answer a lot of those questions for you to a user.
Yep, absolutely. And it's extremely important to have that because, it's not a matter of if, or it is a matter of when, because that is coming. I'm excited about it.
Yeah.
It's going to make our life a little
easier.
But as far as SEOs and all that stuff, that's going to be a puzzle.
It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You fragment all of my searches into a completely new medium, like keyword research, because I was just doing this exercise through the other day, trying to get somebody to understand the ways that we have to deliver rankings reports for one location, right? And I'm like, well, we have to give them their local mobile, and then we have to give them their local desktop. And they're like, well, they have 3 locations. And I'm like, then we serve them 3 reports, or 6 reports total. And they're like, oh wow. And I'm like, yeah. So now go in and say, yeah, I need that for those search engines, but then I need another one for voice search because those terms are so different.
Yeah,
they're probably so little crossover. It's going to be this crazy index of looks like half conversations. But then there's going to be this whole new place for us to develop and find content that's waiting to be developed to inject and answer. So,
I think both will have, traditional search and, then you're going to have that voice search. They'll always have their place. I don't think one's going to take over the other, but, that's how I feel about it.
No, I think you're totally right. I think you're absolutely right. Because there's some people that just aren't they just aren't accustomed to that technology. It doesn't feel comfortable. It's not natural to them.
Yeah.
And then some people are still going to be at a desktop, still going to be where I can't use it. I'm in an office. I'm in a doctor's office. I'm at some place where I don't want to use my voice. I need to just type it.
Yeah. And Jesse brought up another thing too, is, that sometimes those things are listening. They're all the time they're listening to you.
Yeah.
That's kind of spooky.
It is. No, and she comes on at weird times. I've talked to my wife and my wife about that. And if you're a Mr. Robot fan, I just started watching Mr. Robot too. So if you watch Mr. Robot and then have Alexa, you're just like, I just gave it all up.
They got everything.
They literally know everything.
Yeah.
My Amazon purchase history, and then just listen to a conversation. It's like, there's not much else to have in my life. All right there.
No secrets.
No, that's it.
Well, Damon, we are out of time, man.
Oh,
that went by fast.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun.
Did.
I want to thank you for being on the show.
Absolutely.
If you'll hold on when we get done with the show, we'll come back on and talk to you.
Sure.
Guys, I want to thank everybody for listening. Thank you for support. Like I said, we are here every Tuesday, 3:30 to 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. You can catch us on Sprecher. You can catch us on iTunes. You can go to searchtalklive.com and pick up previous shows. Yep. iHeartRadio.
Yep.
There is a link on our website. If you go to previous shows, you can see some of the shows there. I had to take some of them off because the site started loading slow.
Yeah.
But there's links to all the rest of the outlets there.
Yeah, and if you missed any part of today's show, go to searchtalklive.com. You can check it. We'll post it after the show. We always tweet it out. So if you're following us, I'm at CJ_MCE. And Robert, you're at
Robert O'Haver.
Robert O'Haver. And obviously, you can go follow at Search Talk Live. We'll get the show out to you. Awesome show today.
Always hit your show. Always hit us up on email if you want to ask questions for the show, or hit us up on Twitter with hashtag Search Talk Live.
Yep. We are on next Tuesday, the 30th at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time. We have Twitter expert Gary Loper on the show. He'll be on here. We'll be talking Twitter and some more social media, how to use that for your business. A lot of good stuff with that. So make sure you tune in next week, 3:30 on Tuesday. And if you go to Search Talk Live, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we'll send you those notifications to make sure you don't miss a show.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer family of companies.